All right, let's dive into one of the most critical concepts for your exam, legitimacy. This is the absolute bedrock of stable political power, and really understanding it is key. So let's break it down.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau just hits the nail on the head here. He gets right to the heart of it. Pure force, just raw power, is really unstable. You can't run a state forever if people only obey you because they're scared. It just doesn't last.
So that leads us to the million-dollar question, right? If force isn't enough, how does a state actually get people to accept its rule? Well, the answer, the entire secret sauce for this transformation, is legitimacy. Now, for your exam, we have to start with the foundational definition from Max Weber. And the keyword here, the one to underline, is belief. For Weber, legitimacy isn't some objective thing. It's all in our heads. If the people being ruled believe the power is valid, then it is. Simple as that. Okay, so Weber then gives us 3 pure types of legitimate authority. You absolutely have to know these. They are the classic building blocks for this whole concept. First up is rational legal authority. This is basically the operating system for every modern state. Legitimacy here comes from a system of laws and procedures. Think about it. We obey the office of the prime minister, not necessarily the person in the job, because we accept the legal rules that put them there. And you've got traditional authority. This is the because we've always done it this way argument. Its legitimacy comes from the power of tradition and custom. The classic example is a hereditary monarch. Their authority isn't written in a modern rulebook. It comes from history, from bloodline. And finally, there's charismatic authority. This one is all about a single extraordinary person. Legitimacy is tied directly to their amazing character, their heroism, their charisma. It can be incredibly powerful, but as Weber pointed out, it's also super unstable. I mean, what happens when that leader is gone? So fast forward a few decades, and you get David Beetham. He looked at Weber's model and said, you know what? Just belief isn't enough. It's too simple. So he came up with a much more rigorous multi-part test to see if power is truly legitimate. For Beetham, it all starts with the rules. Power has to be gained and used according to the established rules of the game. It's not enough for people to just feel it's right. It has to actually follow the proper procedures.
Second, those rules can't just be random. They have to be justifiable. They need to connect to the shared beliefs and values of everyone involved, both the rulers and the people being ruled. There has to be a shared sense of what's right.
And third, you need to see actual consent. And this isn't just a passive feeling. Beetham is talking about actions, things like voting, taking part in public life, or even just day-to-day compliance. People have to show they agree to the arrangement. So here's the crucial contrast for your essays. Weber's approach is subjective. It's all about what's in people's heads. Beetham gives us a more objective 3-part checklist. For him, power has to follow the rules, be morally justified, and have the consent of the people. It has to tick all 3 boxes. Okay, we've got the core theories down. So how do political scientists actually use them? Well, there are 3 main ways, 3 analytical approaches to studying legitimacy. Think of these as 3 different lenses. The empirical approach, which is very Weber, asks, what is? Why do people obey in the real world? The normative approach asks what ought to be. What are the moral standards power should meet? And the functional approach asks, how does it work? What are the processes that keep the system running? Let's zoom in on that functional approach because it's often broken down into 2 really important sources. You have input legitimacy, which you can think of as government by the people. This comes from the democratic process, fair elections, participation, all that good stuff. Then you have output legitimacy, or government for the people. This is all about results. Is the government actually effective? But is one more important than the other? Bo Rothstein has this fantastic example from Sweden in the 60s. The government held a vote on whether to keep driving on the left side of the road. A whopping 83% of people voted yes, keep it on the left. The government ignored them and switched to the right side anyway. And you know what? Today, everyone agrees it was a great decision. Rothstein's point is that sometimes really good results, great output, can build more long-term legitimacy than just following the democratic input. So far, we've been talking a lot about democracies. But what about autocratic regimes, where concepts like consent and fair rules look, well, completely different? Well, Johannes Gershaffevsky suggests that for autocracies, maybe the classic idea of legitimacy doesn't quite fit. Instead, he says it's more useful to look at stability through related ideas, like popular support for the ruler, trust in the leadership, and the loyalty of really crucial groups inside the country.
Okay, so if autocracies need to generate that support and trust, how do they do it in the 21st century? Turns out they have a brand new, incredibly powerful toolkit. Siva Ganitsky's research here is really eye-opening. He shows that modern autocracies aren't just about censorship anymore. No, it's about co-optation. They actively use social media to build legitimacy. They can mobilize their own supporters to drown out protests. They frame the public narrative to make their actions look good. They make it seem like everyone supports the regime. And they make sure all their elites are saying the same thing. It's a very proactive strategy. That was a lot of theory, I know. To really consolidate all of this and make sure you're ready to ace your exam, you can find a complete summary and even some interactive practice tests over at greaterguru.nl.
Okay, let's do a quick-fire recap of the most important points you need to take away from this.
Remember, legitimacy is the magic ingredient that turns force into authority people actually accept. You have to know the core difference between Weber, who said it's all about subjective belief, and Beetham, who gave us an objective standard with his 3 dimensions. And be sure you can explain the difference between input legitimacy from process and output legitimacy from results, and how these concepts can be adapted to analyze even non-democratic regimes.
And this really illustrates the central debate we're still having today. What truly makes power last in our crazy modern world? Is it a fair process, getting good results, or just having a powerful personality at the top? That is the key question. Good luck with your studies.